Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic afternoon or whenever you happen to be watching this. In this segment, I'm going to be doing another installment of In the Spotlight, and this segment can also double as another installment of Stand or Fall. In the Spotlight uh, meant is a segment that I do, sorry, where I feature albums from artists that maybe people don't know too much about or haven't heard, and they're albums I just want to feature, and talk about. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about an album that came out from a Canadian guitarist from a very well known band. Uh, it came out released, sorry, on January 9th, 1996. The artist, guitarist is Alex Lifeson, and the album is Victor. Again, released on January 9th, 1996, recorded between 1994 and 1995, while Rush were on a bit of a break after the Counterparts tour that they had done. Alex Lifeson recorded this album at his home studio, and he got together with some musicians, a couple of vocalists. One I've talked about before, another one that I haven't mentioned yet, and decided to just record a straight up rock album on some parts. In other parts of the album, there's a bit of experimentation going on. So on this album, you have Alex Lifeson on guitars, you have Lee Claypool on bass, you have Peter Cardinal on bass, you have Bill Bell on guitars, you have Edwin, lead vocalist from a Canadian band, I Mother Earth, on lead vocals for a majority of the tracks. You have Blake Manning on drums, and you have Colleen Allen on horns in one track. Lisa Del Bello, yes, that Del Bello, makes an appearance on one track on lead vocals, and she just bloody kills it. Okay. The album, as I said, at the very heart of it is a hard rock album, very guttural, a lot of bottom end, a lot of rhythm guitar, a lot of heavy bass, heavy drums. Basically, Alex rocks out on this album. And it kind of continues from what he was doing with Counterparts with Rush, because Rush released Counterparts in 1993, and they had songs like on there like Stick It Out, Animate, also Nobody's Hero. So this album just continues on in that vein, although he does experiment. The lead off track, single, sorry, from the album was a track called Promise, which they did a video for, which was featured quite prominently on Much Music here in Canada. It was released again, the album, if I didn't mention it, was released on Anthem Records, which is Rush's label through SRO Management, and it was released on Atlantic Records, which Rush had signed a deal in 1992, I believe, for their albums to be released in the US. So this was released on Atlantic outside of Canada. Other songs on this album, Don't Care, which leads off the album. Again, a very, very guitar laden track. And the character on the track is basically saying, I don't care what you think of me. I don't care that I've hurt you in any shape, way, form, or fashion. I just care about me and what I'm going through in my life. Very matter of fact. Start Today, which is track 3, is very reminiscent of Led Zeppelin's Four Sticks from the untitled 1971 album with Stairway to Heaven. The guitar um, rhythm track on there is very reminiscent of Four Sticks. That's the only track it reminds me of from Zeppelin. Very heavy. Lisa Dabello on this track delivers a hell of a vocal. I don't know why he didn't have her on more tracks for the album. I think it's just an amazing piece of work. There are two instrumentals on the album. One is called Mr. X, which follows Start Today, track number 4, and another track, track A, called Strip and Go Naked. Well, Alex is always one for being a bit of a comedian, and I guess this follows through on his song titles. um, the other tracks of note on the album are at the end, Sending Out a Warning, which is great. All these songs are very, again, guitar laden, guitar heavy. The one track that stands out for me is a track called Shut Up, Shutting Up, which features Alex's wife, Charlene, and another woman by the name of Esther. And that's all we know about her in the credits. Basically, it's the two of them having a conversation about their relationships with their husbands over a piece of music. And it's quite comical when you hear it. The music is pretty heavy, but the conversation is quite comical. And then near the end of the track, you hear Alex Lifeson come in, slowly building up his anger towards these two women. And all he keeps saying is, shut up, shut up, shut up, shutting up, to the point where he starts screaming at them. You know, um, another track of note on the album is the title track Victor, track 10, where for me this is the more experimental track, where it features a quite heavily programmed arrangement with Alex Lifeson on lead spoken word intros throughout the entire track. The one track Victor is based on the poem by poet W.H. Auden, Auden. And it basically talks about this gentleman named Victor who falls in love with this woman, passionately in love. But the voices in his head are telling him to eventually kill her. And he gives in to what the voices are telling him to do. Not a very cheery subject matter for the track, but life isn't always a happy situation to be in. That aside, the track itself is very good. It's very good. It was written by Alex and co-written with his son Adrian. So yeah, it's a fantastic album. And the album ends with a track called I Am the Spirit. Alex Lifeson writes every single track on this album, either writes or co-writes. So he's very prolific. And I'm sad that he hasn't done more solo stuff. I do believe that this album overall did not get proper attention. I mean, it was, again, released through Anthem Records in Canada and Atlantic in the rest of the world. So I don't understand why it didn't get more promotion, more push behind it. I do believe that if they had released the Dabello track Start Today to FM rock radio, it would have at least got more respect and more notice than what it did. Unfortunately, the only track that I remember hearing from this album was Promise with Edwin on lead vocals. That's not to say it's not a good song. I just think that this album needed more of a push. And again, this was still at a time where record companies would allow their artists to do stuff that was outside of their bands. I mean, at the time you had you had Rush and recording since 1968 locally, recording and touring internationally since 1974. And this was the first time that they had broken away from one another to do something different. In subsequent years after this, you had um, Geddy Lee releasing My Favorite Headache. You also had Neil Peart performing in other settings, like in a he did a concert dedicated to Buddy Rich. Neil Peart also recorded some music with the band Vertical Horizon in the 2000s. So they each had their own outlet to do different things. Also, Neil Peart had released a couple of books out there in the publishing world. So they each had their own outlet for creative expression. I just wish that Alex Lifeson was able to continue some more solo work, even though now it's been rumored that he and Geddy Lee will be getting together to do some work, writing some new music, not under the banner of Rush. Rush has been put to bed. There will be no more Rush, and they want it that way. But again, I wanted to feature this album because I don't think it gets enough attention, enough respect. Do I like this album? Bloody hell yes, I do. It's amazing. And as a side project, has it stood the test of time? Yeah, yeah. And I believe it's as heavy and as well rounded as an album that you can get, as long as you're willing to accept the experimentation musically and accept the fact that our favorite guitarists or singers are sometimes going to be doing things that are that you may consider outside the box, but again, what's wrong with that? So anyways, that brings me to the end of this segment of In the Spotlight / Standard Fall. Please let me know down there, do you like this album? Have you heard of the album? Do you think Alex Lifeson should do more solo stuff outside of his new band, Envy of None? I know people are not really happy. People of the hard rock uh, arena are not fans of this album. What do you think of Alex Lifeson's solo work up until now? Please let me know what you think, and click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. And once again, I hope you guys are having a great day, evening, morning, whenever you're watching this, and you're looking after yourselves and one another. And I will be back with a brand new video very soon. Bye for now.